say here today will remain totally confidential. So please feel free to be as open and honest with me as you feel you can be, okay? By the way, who talks like that?
Professional.
Professionals. Thank you, professionals. And you are positioning yourself as a professional, separating from the herd, right? Because you are operating as a consultant, just like a doctor does. Does a doctor make decisions for their patient?
No.
This is not the 1950s anymore. Who makes decisions about a patient's care? The patient, the client, right? The doctor is a consultant, okay? Here are the options available to you. And oh, by the way, here are the expected consequences of each. But guess what? It's your life. What do you want to do? Okay? That's what a doctor does. That's what an attorney does. That's what a real estate sales professional does. Okay? By the way, do buyers ever have issues that are highly sensitive and confidential in nature? Oh my goodness, you're going to touch a lot of buttons, right? So you need to set them at ease. I'm a professional. Anything you say in here will remain totally confidential, okay? Because if they got some issues, you need to know about it, okay? And they might be financial qualification issues. It might be some family needs issues, some unusual dynamics. You need to be aware of those things. Okay. Page 15, stage 3. So we've built rapport, we've set the tone, okay? We've established the agenda. Now we're going to uncover their needs. Eliminating buyer's remorse is accomplished by creating a vision of the desired end result. Okay, so I need to explain something in our dialogue. We talked about helping them find the home they want, okay? And more importantly, wanting the home they get. Did y'all see that dialogue? What's the difference? What does that mean? We're going to help you get the home you want, and then more importantly, want the home you get.
Well, you want to get them in something that they want, but it's also appropriate for their financial parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen where people get into a home, but it's stretched them a little too far and it's ruined families.
Oh, okay, so they got the home they wanted, right? They got it,
Isn't a good fit.
but then they didn't want the home they got, right? That's exactly the point. It's the difference between short-term and long-term. Most buyers are focused short-term. Oh, I love that house, okay? No, it doesn't meet any of my needs and none of my wants, but oh my goodness, it's spectacular, okay? I experienced this myself. When I moved to Katy, Texas in January of 2010, not too long ago, we fell in love with a home. And guess what? We got the home. We got the home we wanted. A year later, we didn't want the home we got. Okay? The home was still beautiful. The neighborhood was in steep decline. Okay? We felt unsafe getting to the front door. We felt wonderful inside the house. But is context important? Is neighborhood important? Okay? That's the difference. And so it's not enough just to take a shallow approach. Okay, well, I need a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, game room up, outdoor kitchen. Okay, yeah, we can get that. Those homes are available, right? But I want to uncover your needs at a deep level. I want to understand your financial dynamics. I want to understand not just how much home you're qualified to purchase, but what's your financial comfort zone? There's a reason we're using that language, because I'm not looking for a short-term win. I'm looking for a long-term win. I'm into not selling houses, but what? What's our verbiage? Satisfying needs, okay? So yes, I'm going to help you get the home you want, but more importantly, want the home you get. No regrets a year from now. No regrets 5 years from now, okay? And to make that true, you have to understand their needs at a deep level. Okay, so that's where this comes in, uncovering needs. Eliminating buyer's remorse, which is what I had a year after we bought our house. I had buyer's remorse. Doggone it, I wish we hadn't bought this house, okay? Love the house, wish we hadn't bought it. Eliminating buyer's remorse is accomplished by creating a vision of the desired end result. Thus, it's vital to get buyers focused on exactly what they need and want in their next home. The best way to get them focused is by using a home criteria sheet. Okay, so Lulu, there's the first answer to your question. Okay, and you're going to see that here in just a page or two. So here's the dialogue around it. What I'd like for you to do, Mr. and Ms. Smith, is for each of you to complete this criteria sheet so we can build the vision of your perfect home. And if you want to peek ahead, I think it's the next page, isn't it? If you want to know exactly what we're talking about, there we go. There's an example. Okay? Hey, I'm going to step out of the room for a moment and allow you to complete it. Just open the door when you're finished. Hey, since I'm out of the room, can I get you some fresh water, refresh your coffee, whatever, okay? Hey, and no cheating. Don't look at each other. I'm giving you each one of these. I want to know how each of you feel individually, okay? And then, by the way, on that sheet, because it's not in your dialogue, you're going to want to explain this. It's on the sheet, but you'll want to tell them verbally. What I want you to do is look at all these criteria of home characteristics. And if it's a must-have, if it's a non-negotiable, that's a need, I want you to put an N next to it, okay? And if it's just something that would be nice, you'd like to have it, but it's not a deal breaker, that's a want. Put a W next to that. So on this criteria sheet, when I come back, you're each going to have your needs and your wants identified. Okay? All right. So, yes, Mike?
If they come in and they bring, I'm going to say respectable people, teenagers, or
Yes.
young adults, or something of that nature, I would advise you give them one.
I think that's good advice. Yes, get them involved in the process. You sure don't want them getting bored. And
We've had experiences where it was actually Dave who decided to buy the house.
Okay. Okay, well there's the voice of experience. Tiffany?
Can you download this document without having like the page number?
No.
Okay.
No, you have to actually retype it, okay? If you download it, it's a PDF. Some of you probably know how to edit PDFs. I don't have that capability. But I would encourage you to retype it anyway. That's what Stacy did. She did this in our buyer meeting the other day, our Get Focused meeting with her buyers. And because there are some things that are more characteristic of the Woodlands and of our market that's not on that sheet. Okay? So think about it. What are buyers looking for in this area? I don't think an outdoor kitchen is on there. Okay, you know, for example. Or I don't think a home theater is on there. It's been a while since I looked at it. But just put every possible feature or amenity. And those could even be locational, okay? Golf course front, waterfront, etc. Okay? All right, so when you come back in the room, here's your dialogue. Hey, how did it go? Hey, by the way, before we get into it, did you see value in this little exercise? Was this helpful to you in clarifying your needs and wants? Okay, well, it's extremely important that we get focused because reacting in the marketplace without a pre-established criteria is like going grocery shopping without a grocery list when you're hungry. Okay? Can everybody relate to that? Yeah, they'll get that. And that's what happens when people get the home they want and then, don't want the home they got, is they get bedazzled by the shiny object, and it might be that outdoor kitchen, okay? Or that newly remodeled kitchen with those incredible cabinets and the granite countertops and that professional cooktop stove. By the way, that wasn't a need or a want, but they just fell in love with it, okay? They don't even cook, okay? That's where you get buyer's remorse. So we're going to get focused. We're going to go shopping with a shopping list. That's what this is about, okay? Transitional phrase. What I would like to do now is prioritize your wants. So let's skip ahead. Page 16 is the criteria sheet. Skip over to page 17. Here we are. Now, let me explain this. We're not going to prioritize their needs because needs, how did we define needs?
It's a must-have.
Must-have.
To be met.
It's a that's exactly right. They all have to be met. Okay, we're not going to look at any homes that don't meet all your needs. But can we get you all your needs and all your wants? Maybe not, Maybe, maybe not. So here's what I need you to do. Go back over all of your W's and let's rank them in order. If you could only get one, what would be number one? If you could get two, what would be number two? And just go through the list until all of them are enumerated. Okay? Helpful hints. Look at the bottom of page 17. Stay into curiosity, there it is again, around needs and wants that could be satisfied via other options. For example, they need 3 bedrooms with a study. Well, would a 4-bedroom home be acceptable if we could convert that 4-bedroom to a study? Okay, so use your professional expertise to give them options. Okay, engage both husband and wife when prioritizing wants. Okay, here's where you're kind of bringing the list together because they did them separately. And this is where you'll get some dialogue between husband and wife. Okay, how important is the big backyard or the big sprinkler system? Okay, or some extra square footage in the garage. Maybe for the husband to do a little workshop or workbench or something, okay? So get on the same channel here. Transitional phrase after you've done that. When we find the home that meets all your needs, let's go to the next page, and you'll see the completion of that dialogue in the box. When we find the home that meets all of your needs and a majority of your wants, will there be anything keeping you from making an offer? What are we testing here? Motivation. This is the final test of motivation. The first test was what? Showing up to the meeting. The final test is, hey, when we find it, because we know what you want now, right? We have defined your perfect home. We know exactly what your non-negotiables are, and we know exactly what your wish list is. When we find a home that meets all of your needs and most of your wants, is there anything that would keep you from making an offer on that home? Okay? Can you see how that question right there is going to save you a fortune in time? Okay? If they say no, there's nothing that would keep us from making an offer. Great. All right, now you're going to be paying cash or are you going to be getting a loan? Are you comfortable asking that question? You need to get, if you're not, you need to get comfortable, right? Because now what are we trying to determine? Qualification. Right? We've determined they're motivated. Are they now qualified? Because a lot of people want to buy who can't buy, okay? So let's follow along his dialogue here. So if they say, we're just looking right now, or I don't think we're ready to buy, you're going to stay into curiosity, right? Go deeper on that. So when do you think you will be ready? 3 to 12 months. So what test have they just violated? Motivation. Motivation. They're not an A buyer is ready to buy now. If we find their perfect home, they're going to buy now. They're not ready. They're 3 to 12 months out, okay? So how do we deal with that? Tiffany, to your point. Okay, so hey, tell me this. What's important to you about waiting 3 to 12 months? Why would we ask that question? That's right. It might be an invalid reason for waiting, okay? I was meeting with some tenant prospects 2 nights ago. And in our Get Focused meeting, I asked them, have you considered buying? Oh, no, we could never buy. I said, really, can you tell me why you could never buy? Well, because we don't have $50,000 to put down on a down payment. Okay, was that an important question for me to ask?
Yes.
Okay, does it require $50,000 to buy a house? By the way, a little modest house, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. They could pay cash for the house, right? If they had $50,000. Do you see? They had a misunderstanding. It was not a legitimate understanding of what it takes to buy a house. So you stay into curiosity, okay? So what's important to you about waiting 3 to 12 months? Listen and then respond appropriately, okay? And then presuming that this is a different issue, okay, I really appreciate that, and even though we're currently, and this is old dialogue, we're not in a buyer's market anymore, we're in a seller's market, okay? Houses, so we're currently in a seller's market, and houses are moving very quickly. Homes that are priced right are selling quickly, so that we don't waste your time and have you fall in love with a home that certainly won't be around by the time you're ready. I recommend that we wait until you're fully committed to buying a home. Is that fair? Does that make sense? Okay? Why go look at homes now? Have you fall in love with something when you're not in a position to buy it? Yes?
If you uncover that they want to wait 3 to 12 months on the phone, would you still set up this?
Get focused meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I would ask for it.
Okay.
I would definitely ask for it because my primary agenda at that point is to cause them to like me. Okay? Now I'm going to continue to follow up. I'm going to put them through some other processes, some other follow-up campaigns, but I want them to get this as immediate reaction of, you know, that Frank's a nice guy. He seems to know what he's doing.
Relationship.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Okay. So, okay, if they're cooperative, yep, I see your point. Probably no point in driving around wasting your time or ours right now. Then great. Would you mind if I stayed in touch with you? We're not just throwing them out. Through the mail as well as a phone call now and then. That way, when you get ready to buy, we can virtually assure you of finding a home that meets these specific needs. Now, what I would add to that is, I would put them on a saved search. Okay? And I would say, I recognize you're not in a position to buy right now, but I want you to be able to stay in touch with the direction of the market. Okay? Be aware of what's coming on and going off. And so if you're 3 to 6 months out, when you're ready to re-engage and ready to buy, you'll have a real good understanding at that point of what's available at what price. Okay? And I love the saved search because it's a constant touch from you that's not spam. Okay? It's information that's extremely relevant to them. So that's my recommendation there. Okay? Does that answer what we do with B's and C's?
When you
Okay.
say search, are you referring to the prospect thing through MLS?
Yes, that's right. Save search through HAR. That's exactly right.
So what wording would you use with your clients? A saved search? What are you saying? Are you saying an automatic?
Yeah, here's what I would depend on our motivation level. You know, you can set up a save search to deliver home updates instantaneously. If they add pictures, if they status change, anything of that nature. For somebody who's 3-6 months out, I would set it up as a weekly update only. I'm not going to barrage their inbox 3 or 4 times a day. Okay? So I'm going to define their criteria in HAR. I'm going to do a search, their price range, their area, all their needs in the search criteria. Okay? Probably would be a little loose on the wants. Okay? Because we're only guaranteeing their needs. And I would set it up for a weekly update.
HAR, I believe, calls it Client Gateway.
Well, that Client Gateway is one way that the clients can access the information, and I prefer it because that's where they can identify, I like this one, I don't like this one. They can communicate with you. The other option is they're just emailed the list of properties and they click the link and see the report. Okay? So Client Gateway, I think, builds more loyalty and there's more engagement.
If it's a long-term thing, you might be better to go to just the normal. I mean, if it's 12 months.
Yep, just the normal email update.
Just get the email.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep, I think
Way more when they get closer.
I have no concern about that. Okay?
Now, that's the same thing as the client website, right?
Well, it's called Client Gateway.
Okay. My confusion, it says client website.
Oh, are you in Tempo?
I'm in Fusion.
Fusion? Well, it's the same thing.
Same thing, okay.
I'm sure it is, yes. Yep, it sure is. And by the way, what we just described was the follow-up process for somebody who fails the motivation test. Okay? What if they had failed the qualification test? They don't have financing and don't qualify for financing. What do we do with them?
Well, they could start repairing their credit and they might be in 6 months to a year.
Yes, so we connect them with a lending professional who can work with them to get qualified, okay? What if it's a loyalty issue? They're motivated, they're qualified, but hey, yes, Tiffany, I want you to show us some houses, but just keep in mind that my cousin Sandy, she's out here looking for us too, okay? What do you do then?
That's a time waster, I don't know.
Isn't that what you're going through? You work with your clients that,
No, I just do it with my friends, like a mom or an auntie that's a realtor as well.
My recommendation, just to cut to the chase, is to go through that dialogue again. Keep in mind, I am a real estate sales professional. I'm extremely serious about what I do. I don't do this part-time. Cousin Sandy probably does, right? So I have to be extremely intentional about my time. So what I would suggest is that you work with Sandy in the time that she has available. But if you ever get the sense that that's not serving your needs at a high level and you would like a full-time professional to represent you, please let me know. I think we could work together to find your perfect home.
Can that be divided out geographically if the cousin is in Sugar Land and doesn't even know where the Woodlands is?
Certainly. Yeah.
You specify that.
Yeah. You know how I would like to handle it? If they're not sure if they want to live in Sugar Land or the Woodlands, okay, or Clear Lake in the Woodlands, or Galveston in the Woodlands, okay, that's part of what a get-focused meeting is about, okay? But could you ever say, okay, she'll represent you down there and I'll represent you up here? Yes, I think you sure could. Now, what if they're looking at one market and their cousin Sandy is still in play, okay? Here's the approach that I would take with that. You know, I really understand your loyalty to your cousin, and I really appreciate that because I've got family members that I care about also. Let me share with you how we might do this as a win-win-win and take care of Sandy and still ensure that your needs are served at a high level. You know what I'm going to be willing to do is pay Sandy a 25% referral fee, and she's not going to have to do a thing, okay? I'll represent you. I'll make sure that you get full-time professional representation. We find your perfect home. Sandy's not going to have to lift a finger and she's still going to get paid. How does that sound? Okay? Most of them will take that deal. And by the way, it doesn't even have to be a 25% referral fee. It could be a 10% referral fee. Okay? Most buyers and sellers have no idea what typical referral fees are. Okay? So I'll just pay her a referral fee and she'll get paid for not lifting a finger. Okay? So use that if it's helpful to you. Okay, so page 19.
So, excuse me, on the referral fee, that's not a standard, I mean,
There is no standard.
there's no standard to that.
There's no standard on the commission rate, even though we all say we typically do 3%. That cannot. There's no law around that. Okay, and if you try to establish a law, you're going to end up in the pokey. Okay. So real estate sales professionals, at the broker level, are free to establish commission rates for the office. And what our office has decided is, you can do whatever you want. It's your business, okay? We'll support you in that. It's the same way with referral rates. And referral rates typically differ based upon the sale price of the property or the strength of the relationship of the referring agent. If there was an average, it's probably around 25%, okay? All right, page 19. We're just looking. In other words, no, we're not really ready to buy right now, but you know, we kind of like looking at houses and we want to know what's out there, okay? I really appreciate that, and even though we're currently in a seller's market and the homes are selling quickly, so we don't waste your time or have you fall in love with a home that may not be around, I recommend we wait until you're ready, okay? Now, what if they push back on that, okay? No, I really want to look. Okay, I really want to see what's out there. So this is when you got to toughen up and be a professional. Okay, so do you remember at the beginning of our conversation when I told you that I was here to create a win-win working relationship? I think we may have just violated that agenda. Okay, I mean, we have a common goal that's getting you into your perfect home. Is that correct? Great. Well, I'm committed to going 100% of my efforts towards finding your perfect home, and all I ask is that when we find that home, you be prepared to buy it. I mean, that's reasonable, isn't it? Otherwise, the overall goal of getting you into your perfect home has not been accomplished. Does that make sense? Super. Then shouldn't we make this a win-win relationship from the start? And if they don't agree with that, that's when you say next. Okay, move on. Because we live in a world of what? Abundance. Very good. Lots of buyer fish in the sea. All right, Page 18. I'm going to skip past a couple of these pages. We've kind of talked around them. I don't want to go through the script because I want to get to the showing aspect of this class. Oh, I'm going the wrong direction. Okay, with my button. Okay. Page 20 is where you check their qualification. You get them connected to a loan officer or you get proof of funds. Look at page 21, covering mutual expectations. Now that we have a motivated buyer who's willing to get qualified, you can set the boundaries for a successful working relationship. And here's your transitional phrase. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith, let's switch gears for a moment. It's been my experience, okay, y'all look at me, eyeballs on me. Conflict only arises when expectations differ. When two people in a relationship are expecting different things from the relationship, okay? I've adopted that as one of my core life beliefs, okay? Because it's true. Think about it. Every time you get into conflict with somebody, it's because somebody in that relationship was expecting something different than the other person was, okay? That's true professionally and personally, okay? With that in mind, let me share with you what I feel you have a right to expect from me as your real estate sales consultant. And here you hand them the My Role list, which you have a copy of. It may even be on the next page, okay? My Role. And you go through that and you describe exactly what you're going to do as their representative, okay? Once you go through that, now, since this is going to be a partnership, let me share with you what I feel I have a right to expect from you as my partner, and you share the Your Role list. And again, I'm going to encourage you to take these lists and personalize them. And Stacy, I heard you mention them the other day. Had you actually typed these out? Your own, My Role, Your Role?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I did.
You
and
did?
I printed it out and I put it in my listing presentation.
Great.
And I just said, is there anything else that you feel that you would want to add so we are on the same
That's
page?
right.
And they seem to really like that.
So you've used that since last week?
Well, I took the class.
The listing.
on this
Okay.
one,
Yes.
And I printed it all and I put my name in and their name.
Excellent.
And I like it because it's a systematic way of going through everything.
Yes.
And so you're on the same page.
Yes. It eliminates conflict. They know exactly what to expect from you, and you have set the expectations that you have from them. And you're right. As you go through, when you finish going through these, you need to ask, is there anything else we need to add to this? Or in terms of your expectations of them, is there anything on here that you have heartburn over? Okay? Because conflict only arises when expectations differ. Let's make sure our expectations are the same. All right, so page 24 ends that conversation with some of the dialogue that Rosemarie and I just talked through. So look at page 25. This is when we're closing the meeting. We've had our first meeting together, okay? If the buyer has been allowed to self-discover your value as a real estate sales professional, at this point, they should be willing to commit to a relationship with you, okay? So here's your dialogue. After our conversation, I feel we have the makings of a win-win working relationship. Would you agree? Great. Would you like me to represent you in the purchase of your perfect home? How could they say anything but yes after all that you've gone through with them, my role and your role? If yes, say perfect. There are a couple documents that we need to go over that clarify the terms of our representation, okay? And here's where you go through the IABS and the buyer's rep agreement. And I would recommend that you always, 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 always have your buyers and tenants on a rep agreement, okay? And the reason for that is, if not, you're actually not legally allowed to represent their best interests. And that's how I present the buyer's rep agreement. Most agents are nervous about presenting it because what they think it is, what agents think it is a commission guarantee agreement. If the seller doesn't pay me, you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, are going to pay me, and that makes us uncomfortable to present it. And so the way I do it is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, according to Texas real estate laws and regulations, I am legally obligated to represent the best interests of the seller in this transaction, unless you give me the legal right to represent your best interests. Okay? That's what this does. They eagerly sign it then. Now there's some provisions in there that talk about if the seller doesn't pay you, that the buyer will. You know what I do with those provisions? I cross them out. Because I want to say, I say to them at that point, let me assure you the seller is going to pay me. And if for some reason we find a situation where a home that's not listed, there's been no offer of compensation to a buyer represented agent, then at that point we can revisit the issue. And if you decide you want to compensate me to represent you for example, a FSBO home, we can renegotiate it at that point, okay? But I just don't want you to have any concerns about you're going to have to come out of pocket and pay me. The other thing is that potentially comes up, the resistance to signing a buyer's rep agreement, is that it has a time parameter on it, okay? You're representing them for 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is, and many of them don't want to be locked into a relationship with you for an extended period of time, because even though they like you so far, they haven't been in the car with you yet, have they? Okay? So what I say is, let's make this for the appropriate length of time that we think is going to take to find this home. Then we're going to add a fudge factor after that. So maybe 90 days, I think is typically reasonable. But then what I always put in special provisions, and this eliminates any objection I've ever had to signing the buyer's rep agreement, is I write in there, either party may cancel this agreement by giving written notice to the other party. That's it. Then they're like, oh, okay, all right. So we're not really bound, like the law of the Medes and Persians forever and ever. Okay, yeah. So and I tell them, and this is what I step into this dialogue and say, I'm only interested in win-win working relationships. And if you ever feel that my services are not fully satisfying your needs, then if I can't satisfy those needs, I want you to find someone who can. And I promise you, I will cooperate. You can just send me an email. Doesn't have to be a certified letter. Just say, hey Frank, we think we're going to be better served by working with somebody else, and you are instantly released. Okay? And by the way, there is a provision in there that protects you after the expiration of the agreement, and that would include a premature cancellation like that, and in 10 days, 30 days, whatever you write in, so that if you showed them a home and then they cancel the agreement and they go back and buy it, you still get paid. Okay? You're protected under that. Okay?
What's the typical time frame?
On a buyer's rep agreement?
In that protection?
Oh, the protection, I typically do 10 days. If I don't know them very well, when I work with buyers, it's almost always on a referral basis. So I'll put 10 days. But if it was some non-referred relationship, I might go as long as 30. Okay, let's move here fairly quickly. Post-conversation activities, page 26. So you've closed the meeting. Now you're going to get busy and do your work, right? And here's the work. You're going to send a thank you letter. We'll even give you a little text for that, and it's actually very helpful. You're going to call the client's loan officer to verify price parameters. Okay? i.e., I've met with the Joneses, they're qualified to $450. They can buy up to $450. Okay? Then you call the buyers back and say, hey, I just spoke with Tracy, your loan officer. She says you're qualified up to $450. Do you want me to raise our search criteria to $450, or is your financial comfort zone somewhere less than that? Okay? Because they might not want to max out. And then 4, insert the criteria one at a time into the MLS to uncover all the homes that meet their needs and wants. Put all their needs in there and then add the wants one at a time. Because it might be one particular want that eliminates a whole bunch of properties, and that may not justify, their want might not be strong enough to justify that. Okay? When you go to show, when showing time comes, because you're going to meet back after you've done your research and they've met with the loan officer, and you've had these conversations, you're going to put together a showing package, and here's what that should be in that package. The full MLS agent report, the full report, pricing information needed to make an intelligent offer. Pricing information is as simple as a quick CMA. Okay? Once you've pulled up all your homes on your showing list, I would just hit Quick CMA, the little lightning bolt, print that out. That's going to give you information, days on market, list price, year built, et cetera, et cetera.
So, I'm sorry, there's a lightning bolt, what is this on?
Yeah, so once you do a search
Okay.
and you hit results,
Okay, yeah.
okay, it's going to list all the homes that meet those results. Right-hand side of the screen at the top, there's a CMA button, and then a CMA button with a lightning bolt on it. If you hit the lightning bolt, that's a quick CMA, and that just gives you a one-page side-by-side comparison report, and frankly, it's all you need. Okay?
Saved me a whole heck of a lot of
Well, I'm
time.
glad you're here, Lulu. Okay? Then you want to print out the tax report. So just again, if you open up each property that you're going to show, right at the top of the full agent report, it says tax account, tax ID. Just click on that and print it, and it's going to look something like this. Okay? It's going to show you the legal names of the owners and all kinds of other relevant data, including the legal description of the home. Very importantly, tax rate and taxes, dollar amount and rate.
Isn't the taxes that are paid, it's on the front sheet?
It is.
Isn't
It is. You're just going a step further, okay? Because first of all, the owner's information is not in the MLS. That's not going to be available on your report. And if you decide to make an offer, don't you need that information?
Right.
Yeah. So print the tax report.
For us to have?
Print it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And that's the point. You're going to have it. Now, I'm going to add a couple things, and if you're taking notes, please add this in there. On your showing package, include the showing instructions from CSS. Okay? Now, if it's a Supra, you're probably fine. I showed 4 houses yesterday. 3 of them were on combos. Okay? How did I know what the combo was? I had the showing instructions right here. Okay, that's how I had that. Sometimes there's a big dog locked up in the laundry room. You need to know that. Okay? Don't let the cat out. You need to know that. You can't remember it when you're showing 7 or 8 properties, so print the showing instructions.
You're going to CSS for that.
Yes. After I schedule, I get an email from CSS and I print it out.
Oh, it's.
Okay?